Well, my name is Jim Hollingsworth, and I'm running for Idaho State Representative, position 4B, District 4, and position B. Well, actually, probably the most important thing that I've been involved with is just a close tie with the legislature. I've spent a lot of time in Boise, testifying in committees, talking with the different folks that are there, also dealing with department heads like Department of Law Enforcement, prisons and so forth, welfare. And then I have a BA degree in economics and history and political science, so I have a lot of background in that, did a lot of that kind of work in school. Worked in budgeting for the U.S. Navy, worked in budgeting and management analysis and so forth for the Bunker Hill Company, at that time the largest company in Idaho. And I've spent a lot of time as a teacher, administrator. I understand school problems, I understand what it takes for a child to learn. And I've just been involved in a lot of things in the community and talking with people. I'm a building contractor, so I understand building issues, and I'm a small business owner, so I understand some of the problems involved with business. So I think I have a well-rounded background that helps me identify with the people rather than just being a government servant. Well, I think we're dealing with a time where the public are really discouraged, and I think that that's the big thing is economics. And of course, the state of Idaho has very, very little to do with that. So taking the issues on a state level, we see a lot of folks talking about urban renewal, and I think it's gone beyond its scope. In fact, I'm not sure I've ever seen an area in Idaho that's blighted. People are concerned about education. They're concerned about achievement. Why are our students not achieving? We see a lot of concern about capital improvements. It's costing way too much to build buildings. Max Rafferty, who was the superintendent of schools for California for a number of years, said, why do we have to build buildings that look like the Taj Mahal? Our school buildings look more impressive than our hospitals. And then, of course, why does it cost more to educate in Idaho? For instance, Utah excuse me, is educating for $1,500 or $1,700 a year less than we are. What's the secret? What's into that? We're concerned about highways. People are concerned about the fact that costs are going up and so forth. But the main things that people are concerned about is the quality of life and what's happening with the quality of life and what the state is doing to influence it. Well, I have a difficulty with the term economic development tools because I'm not sure that the state really needs to be in that business. And so I think really the most effective thing the state can do, and this is a hard one because whoever wants to do nothing, but I think the most effective thing the state can do is to get out of the way and let innovators innovate. There's a lot of things that go on in the state government that make it very difficult for business. For instance, why do we need a business license? What is the value of a business license? Is it actually to control a business or to ensure that it meets certain standard criteria? I really doubt that. I think it's just a money-generating thing. If we eliminated business licenses, if we consolidate our tax reporting, you know, as soon as I hired someone, I got this ream of paperwork that I had to fill out. It's very disconcerting. It's threatening. I mean, you think, well, one time I had to pay a $3 fine because I was late in filing my papers. And so if they could be consolidated so that you just filed one form a month or one form a quarter and took care of all your tax, unemployment, and all the rest of it, that would be simpler. Another thing that can happen is the government can actually start eliminating some of the restrictions on business that make it harder for businesses. You know, I didn't have to pay any kind of personal property tax until I became a business and got registered as a business. Then I had to start paying personal property tax. Well, I didn't have any more equipment than I had before. It's just not fair. Anyway, I think the government needs to go through and start looking at things that they can do to make it easier for business without hindering the business. Well, you know, I think that's an excellent question because everyone's concerned about taxes. And if you analyze government and the industry, you find that as an industry gets larger, it generally becomes more efficient. That's why we have the big box stores that are a lot cheaper. As a matter of fact, I'm buying my contractor materials at stores retail cheaper than I could ever have bought them before for wholesale. I mean, that's just what's happening. And that's because of economies of scale. The other side of that picture is as a government entity grows, whether it's local or national or whatever it is, the bigger it gets, the more inefficient it becomes. We find a lot of people in the government who are very busy working very hard, very dedicated, doing a lot of things that do not need to be done. The first thing I think that needs to happen is we need to go through every department and eliminate people that are doing very important things to them, but which are not necessary as far as the taxpayer is concerned. We need to go back through and look at all of the programs we've initiated in the last 5 years and see if they're truly needed. If we got along without them 5 years ago, we can get along with them now. And we need to recognize that the government is not the do-all and end-all of everything that happens in the state. That the people need to be able to do things. Individuals, private individuals, community action. And we need to recognize that the taxpayer is not the last resort for all problems. That the taxpayer has to deal with his needs, and he has very limited resources. The government needs to start looking at their situation and find. Personally, I think that if education were to follow some very basic precepts that we understood over 50 years ago, we could cut our education budget by 25% and have plenty of money left to provide for all the needs, highways and all the rest of them.